planet North was home to many races, each proud of their culture and knowledge. Among them, humans were a small group, known more for their quiet strength than for numbers. They were explorers, traders, and builders who had come from far stars. The galaxy respected them, but also feared them a little, because humans had a strange habit of changing everything they touched. One such human was named Aaron. He was not a soldier, not a leader, but a scientist who believed in peace. He worked for the Galactic Council, studying energy systems that could help all races. Aaron was polite, calm, and often silent. Many called him strange because he did not argue or seek praise. He simply worked. Among the council members was a woman named Lyra. She belonged to the Solith race, were known for their silver skin and sharp minds. Lyra was brilliant but proud. She disliked humans, believing them to be primitive compared to the ancient Solith civilization. She often mocked their emotions and short lifespans. Aaron and Lyra worked together on a large energy project. The plan was to build a generator that could power a whole city using clean energy from the core of North. Aaron had spent months designing it, and his ideas were key to its success. But Lyra could not accept that a human's mind could match hers. She began to question every suggestion he made. During one council meeting, when the chamber was full of representatives from 10 different races, Lyra lost her patience. Aaron quietly explained that the generator's core needed to be stabilized with human-engineered alloys to prevent meltdown. Lyra laughed and called his design weak. Then, in front of everyone, she said that humans were only good at breaking things, not creating them. The room fell silent. Aaron said nothing. He only looked at her once, then turned away. That was the last time anyone saw him. The next morning, Aaron was gone. His lab was empty. His records were locked, his tools missing. The generator plans were half finished, and no one could understand his system without him. The council searched for him for weeks, but found no trace. The humans said he had gone back to his people, but even they did not know where. Without Aaron, the project failed. The generator overheated during testing and nearly destroyed part of the city. Many blamed Lyra for pushing him away, but she denied it. She told herself that he was weak, that he had left because he could not handle criticism. But deep down, something in her heart felt heavy. She remembered his calm eyes when she had insulted him. They had not shown anger, only disappointment. Years passed, North changed. The humans who had lived there slowly left the planet, moving to other colonies. The Solith Empire began to fade as newer powers rose. The council dissolved, replaced by a new order of trade alliances. Lyra rose to high position among the engineers, but she was never fully at peace. The generator project had marked her life. Every new invention she worked on reminded her of that one silent human and his vanished brilliance. One night, 28 years after that day, Lyra received a strange signal. It came from the outer rim of the galaxy, from a region no ship had entered for decades. The message was simple. Only coordinates followed by a single word: stability. The word struck her. That had been the name of Aaron's generator model. She stared at the message for a long time. No one else on her team understood it. They dismissed it as space noise, but Lyra knew better. She knew it was a human word, and she knew whose mind it came from, driven by curiosity and guilt. She requested a small exploration ship and set a course for the coordinates. Her crew was small: a pilot named Terran, a mechanic named Milo, and 2 scientists. None of them believed in ghost stories, but they followed her orders without question. The journey took weeks through empty space. They passed abandoned stations and silent asteroid fields, until finally they reached the system shown in the signal. It was a cold system, with a dim star and several dead planets. The sensors caught faint energy readings on the 3rd planet, readings that matched the old human generator pattern. Lyra's heart beat faster. They landed near the source of the signal. What they found was beyond belief. In the middle of a wide, frozen valley stood a massive dome structure, made of metal that shimmered like crystal. Around it, machines moved slowly, working without rest. They looked old, yet they functioned perfectly. The air inside the dome was warm, clean, and full of energy. The moment Lyra entered, her instruments showed readings higher than any power source known in the galaxy. Then she saw him. Aaron stood near the control panel, older, but clearly alive. His face carried the calmness she remembered, though his hair had turned white. He looked at her without surprise, as if he had been waiting. Lyra froze. Words failed her. 28 years of pride and silence pressed down on her chest. "You found it," he said quietly. His voice was the same, steady, clear. She stepped closer, still unsure if this was real. "You built it," she whispered. "You really built it." Aran nodded. "Yes, it took time, but I wanted to finish what we started. The system works now. It can power an entire world without harm." Her mind raced with questions. "Why did you leave?" she asked finally. "Why disappear for all these years?" He looked at her for a long moment before answering. "Because sometimes silence teaches more than anger. You would not have listened then." His words cut through her pride. She lowered her head. "I was wrong. I insulted you, your people, your work. I was blind." Aaron smiled faintly. "You were proud. So was I. We all learn." As they spoke, Milo and Terran examined the machines around them. They realized the structure was more than a power plant. It was a living system that balanced energy between the planet's core and the atmosphere. It could restore dying worlds, heal broken lands. Lyra watched in awe as the data filled her screen. "This could change everything," she said softly. Aaron looked out through the transparent dome at the frozen horizon. "That was always the goal," he replied. "To create, not to destroy." The wind outside howled, but inside, there was peace. Lyra stood beside the man she had wronged decades ago, realizing how small her arrogance had been compared to his quiet strength. She wanted to say more, to ask for forgiveness, but he turned back to the console. "You should leave soon," he said. "This place is stable now, but not safe for long. The core will draw attention once others detect it." She hesitated. "Will you come back with us?" Aaron shook his head. "No. My time among the council is over. I belong here now, where silence has meaning." Lyra felt tears sting her eyes. For 28 years she had buried guilt under pride, but now she saw the cost. Aaron had turned that pain into creation. While she had only built walls around her heart, before leaving, she placed her hand on the console. "Then at least let me carry your work back. Let them see what a human can do." He looked at her and nodded. "Carry it with truth, not pride." When they left the dome, Lyra took one last look back. Through the frost glass walls, she saw Aaron standing alone beside the glowing core. He raised his hand in farewell, and then the dome sealed shut behind him as their ship rose into the sky. The dome shone brighter, like a star being born on the cold world below. Lyra watched it fade into the distance, her thoughts silent. That night, while the ship drifted through space, she opened her logbook and began to write. She titled it, "The Human Who Chose Silence." And somewhere on that lonely planet, Aaron continued his work, guarding his creation, not for glory or revenge, but because he believed that the best answer to offense was not hate, but purpose. The stars outside flickered quietly, as if listening to his silence. The ship returned to North after many weeks of travel. Lyra sat in silence while her crew talked about what they had seen. They had recorded every detail of the dome, the machines, and the energy readings. It was proof that Aaron had done something no other scientist had achieved. He had built a living generator that could save dying worlds. When they landed, Lyra immediately went to the High Council of Engineers. They were older now, and many new members had replaced those from the old days. Most of them had never heard the full story of the failed generator project or of Aaron himself. Lyra stood before them with the evidence, her voice steady but filled with emotion. She explained everything she had seen: the dome, the machines, and the endless energy that came from Aaron's creation. The council members listened closely. Some were amazed, others skeptical. When she showed them the data, silence filled the room. One of the senior engineers, A tall woman named Nira finally spoke. If this is true, then this human created something beyond our understanding. Why did he not share it with us? Lyra looked down for a moment before answering. Because we did not deserve it then. Pushed him away. The council agreed to send a research team to study the site, but Lyra refused to let them go without her. She wanted to return, not as an engineer seeking knowledge, but as someone who needed to face her past. Meanwhile, across the colonies, the news spread. A human scientist who had vanished decades ago was alive and had built a power beyond imagination. Many wanted to claim it. Corporations, warlords, and even the new galactic alliances saw the discovery as a chance to gain power. Lyra knew it was only a matter of time before others reached that world. She needed to warn Aaron. 2 days later, she left north again, but this time not with scientists. She brought a small defense team, led by Commander Rallick, an old human soldier who respected Aaron's name. When she told him what had happened, his eyes hardened. If he is alive, he must be protected. There are many who would destroy him for his creation. The journey to the frozen planet felt heavier this time. Lyra could not stop thinking about the last words Aaron had spoken. Carry it with truth, not pride. She had promised, but now she feared that truth alone might not be enough to protect him. When they entered the system, the sensors showed several ships already in orbit, unmarked vessels moving slowly around the planet. Rallick frowned. They're scanning the surface. Someone leaked the coordinates. Lyra's heart sank. She had shared the information with the council, but she had never thought someone would sell it. We must go down now, she said. They broke through the atmosphere and descended toward the dome. Smoke rose from the ground near the landing zone. The machines outside were still working, but the air smelled of metal and ash. As soon as they stepped out, they saw the damage. The outer walls of the dome had been struck by plasma fire. Rallick and his soldiers spread out, weapons ready. Inside, the once calm hum of the generator was louder, almost like a heartbeat. Lyra ran forward, calling out Aaron's name. She found him near the control platform, standing beside a damaged panel. His arm was burned, and one of the drones beside him lay broken. He turned when he heard her voice, calm even in the chaos. I warned you, he said quietly. They're coming for your work, she replied. You have to leave. Aaron looked around at the machines. Leave this? No. This was never mine to keep. It belongs to every world that needs it. But they do not understand that. Before they could speak further, alarms echoed through the dome. The defense team reported enemy ships landing outside. Armed raiders poured across the ice, their leaders shouting orders. They wanted the core relics. Soldiers formed a line near the entrance. Blasts of plasma lit the walls. The dome trembled as energy bolts struck its outer shell. Aaron worked quickly at the console, redirecting power to the shield. Lyra stayed beside him, assisting with the system. You can still stop them, she said. If you overload the outer field, it will push them back. Aaron shook his head. It will also destroy the dome. The core will collapse. Then what do we do? She asked. He turned to her with calm eyes. We protect the seed. The dome can be rebuilt, but not the idea behind it. He typed several commands. Machines around the core began to shift and fold into a sphere of light. It rose slowly into the air, glowing like a small sun. Outside, the fighting grew fierce. The air shook with sound. Shouted for his team to hold the line. One of the raider ships fired a heavy blast that cracked the dome wall. Ice and smoke filled the chamber. Aaron placed a small device in Lyra's hand. This contains the pattern, he said. It can rebuild everything from one point. Take it and go. She looked at him in disbelief. No, you're coming too. I can't, he said softly. Someone has to guide the core while it stabilizes. It's not ready to move alone. Lyra's voice trembled. You can't stay here. You'll die. He smiled faintly. I've lived enough years in silence. Maybe this is the right end. Rallick ran toward them, shouting that the raiders had broken through. Lyra clenched her hand around the small device. I won't leave you again, she said. Aaron looked at her with warmth in his eyes. Then trust me this time. Go, Lyra. Carry it with truth. Before she could argue, the platform beneath them shook violently. Aaron activated a control command, and the floor split open. A lift rose from below, carrying Lyra and Rallick upward. She screamed his name, but the lift sealed, and a force field blocked her path through the glass below. She saw him standing beside the glowing core, his figure surrounded by light. Then everything went white. The explosion was not destructive but beautiful. A pulse of pure energy spread across the planet, melting the ice and turning the air clear. The attacking ships were thrown away by the wave, their systems shut down. When Lyra's ship recovered from the shock, she looked down. The dome was gone, but in its place stood a vast field of crystal, shining with soft light. The entire valley was alive. Growing Drac stood beside her, silent. "He saved it," he said finally. Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. "He saved us all." They collected what remained of the machines and returned to North. The small device in her hand still glowed, holding the memory of Aaron's creation. Months passed. Across the galaxy, rumors spread of the human generator that restored worlds. Some said it was a myth, others said it was divine. Lyra ignored all the noise. She worked quietly in her lab, using the data from the device. Her goal was not fame. It was to honor a man who had taught her that silence could hold more power than pride. She called her new project the Light Seed. It was smaller than Aaron's original design, but carried the same purpose. A single unit could heal a region, purify air, and balance energy. She offered it freely to every colony that needed help, never asking for profit. The first world that received it was one destroyed by war. Within months, its soil turned green again. The people there built a small statue beside the device, not of Lyra, but of a human standing quietly with his hands folded. They called it the Silent Maker. When Lyra saw the images, her eyes filled with tears. She whispered to herself, "You are not forgotten, Aaron." But deep inside, she wondered if he was truly gone. The energy patterns in the Light Seed still carried traces of thought, signals too complex to be random. Sometimes, when she worked late at night, her console flickered, and the word stability appeared for a brief second on the screen. She would pause, smile, and whisper, "I'm listening." Outside her window, the stars of the outer rim shone quietly, like distant eyes watching with pride. Somewhere out there, maybe on that frozen world reborn in light, Aaron's spirit continued to guard the balance he had built. The galaxy had learned to respect the silence of one human who had turned offense into creation, and who had proved that strength was not always in voice or weapon, but in patience, forgiveness, and quiet work that never demanded to be seen. Months after the Light Seed project began, Lyra found herself traveling more than ever. Every planet she visited carried the same story. Worlds once broken were healing again. The Light Seed, powered by Aaron's design, had changed everything. It worked not only as a generator, but as a force that balanced nature itself. Forests regrew, oceans cleared, and skies once black with pollution turned blue again. People spoke of Aaron as a legend. Some said he was a prophet, others said he was a spirit. Only Lyra knew the truth. He had not been a prophet. He had been a man who believed in creation more than pride. But peace never lasts forever. The Light Seeds had drawn attention from powerful factions. The trade union, the strongest alliance of colonies, began demanding control over distribution. They wanted to use the seeds to control the flow of energy across the galaxy. When Lyra refused to hand over her research, they sent spies into her laboratories. One night, while working late, she found one of her assistants copying data from her console. He froze when he saw her, then fled. The guards caught him before he escaped, but the damage was done. Someone out there now had part of Aaron's secret code. The next day, the Council of Engineers summoned Lyra for questioning. The trade union accused her of withholding technology that could benefit all races. They said she was acting against unity. Lyra stood before them calmly, her eyes steady. "This is not a weapon," she said. "It is life itself. It must be shared with care. If you force it, you will destroy its balance." Council debated for hours. Finally, they ruled that the Union could access limited versions of the Light Seed, but Lyra would remain its guardian. It was a weak compromise. She knew the Union would not stop there. When she returned to her lab, she found a new message waiting for her. It appeared as static at first, then resolved into a word she had seen long ago: stability. Her heart skipped a beat. She opened the file. This time, the signal contained coordinates again, but they pointed to a different system. The message included an additional phrase: if they misuse it, return the balance. Lyra stared at it for a long time. Could Aaron still be alive? Or was this part of his design, a hidden safeguard that activated when the light seeds were in danger? She decided to follow it, gathering a small team of trusted scientists and engineers. She set off in her ship, the Soul Dawn. The journey was long and quiet. Each day, she looked out at the stars, remembering the first time she had gone searching for Aaron. Now, she was doing it again. But this time, the galaxy itself seemed heavier, as if it too carried guilt. When they reached the system, they found an unusual planet, small, surrounded by an energy field that reflected light like water. As they approached, their sensors failed. The closer they got, the stronger the interference became. "We're losing control," the pilot said. Lyra made a decision. "Take us down manually." That signal was meant for us. The ship descended through clouds of glowing particles until it broke through to the surface. What they saw was astonishing. The planet was covered with silver-blue forests that shimmered with energy. Rivers of light flowed through the valleys. In the distance stood structures shaped like crystals, humming with power. "This looks like the Light Seed Network," one of the scientists said. Lyra nodded slowly. "It's more than that. It's a living world." It landed near one of the crystal towers. When Lyra stepped out, her instruments went wild. The readings were beyond anything recorded. It was as if the planet itself was alive, feeding and breathing energy. Then she heard a voice through the communication link. A calm, familiar voice. "You followed the signal." Her heart stopped. "Aaron?" she whispered. "Yes," the voice replied. "You have done well, Lyra. But balance is shifting. They seek to control what cannot be owned." She turned toward the crystal tower. "Where are you?" "I am here," the voice said. "Not as before?" "The core and I became one. When the dome broke, my body ended, but my mind was preserved in the system. I have been watching, waiting for the right moment." Lyra felt both awe and sorrow. "You became part of the generator." "Not by choice," Aaron said, "but by necessity. The energy was unstable. I had to merge with it to save the design. Since then, I have guided it where I could." She stepped closer to the glowing crystal. The light inside shifted, forming patterns like a heartbeat. She could almost feel his presence. "What do you want me to do?" she asked. "The Union will turn your creation into power," Aaron said. "They will use it to rule others. The light seed was made to heal, not to conquer. I need your help to stop them before the balance breaks." "How?" "There is a failsafe built into the seeds," he explained. "If activated, they will all return to their neutral state. The energy will remain, but it will no longer obey those who seek control." Lyra hesitated. That would shut down energy for hundreds of colonies. People would suffer. "Yes," Aaron said softly, "but only for a time. The balance must return before new growth begins." Lyra's mind raced. She thought of the people who depended on the light seeds, the worlds reborn because of them. Could she risk it all again? Before she could answer, alarms rang across the ship. The pilot called out that incoming ships had entered orbit. The Union had followed them. "They tracked us," Lyra said. "They want the source." Aaron's voice grew calm. "Then this is the moment. The choice is yours, Lyra. Protect life or protect control." The ground trembled as Union dropships landed nearby. Soldiers in metallic armor surrounded the area. Their commander stepped forward, his voice echoing through loudspeakers. "Lyra of Noreth," he said, "you are charged with withholding galactic property. Surrender the light seed data now." She stood tall. "This is not property. This is balance." The commander raised his hand. "Then we will take it." The soldiers moved in. Lyra's team tried to resist, but they were outnumbered. Plasma bolts struck the ground around them. Lyra ran toward the crystal tower, clutching her data console. Inside it was the key to Aaron's failsafe. Lyra, Aaron said through the cum, you must decide now. She stopped before the glowing core. If I do this, everything changes. That is what creation always does, he replied. She pressed her hand against the crystal. The energy surged around her. The console flashed as Aaron's voice filled the air one last time. Carry it with truth. Light exploded from the tower. Waves of energy spread across the planet, reaching into space. The Union ships above shuddered as their systems failed. Across the galaxy, every light seed flickered, then went dark. For a moment, stars themselves seemed to fade. When the light settled, the planet was silent. Lyra fell to her knees, exhausted. The soldiers lay unconscious around her, their weapons dead. The crystal tower now glowed softly, calm again. Aaron's voice returned, faint but peaceful. The balance is restored. Thank you, Lyra looked up. Will I see you again? You already do, he said. Everywhere the light seeds grow, I am there. In every calm moment, in every silence that follows creation, then the voice faded, and only the hum of the planet remained. Weeks later, reports spread across the galaxy. The light seeds had lost their power, but nature continued to heal. The people learned to live with less, to respect balance again. The Union lost its hold, and smaller colonies began to rise on their own strength. Lyra returned to North quietly. She rebuilt her lab, but kept no assistance this time. She worked alone, tending a single light seed that still glowed in her chamber. It no longer produced energy, but it pulsed with soft light, like a heartbeat. Every night she sat beside it and spoke softly, telling Aaron about the worlds he had saved. And sometimes when the wind passed through the vents, it carried a faint whisper that sounded like his voice. The galaxy had changed once again. Guided by the silence of one human who had turned offense into purpose and then into peace. And though his body was gone, his spirit had become part of the stars themselves, steady, quiet, and eternal. Years passed quietly after the shutdown of the light seeds. The galaxy changed in slow but steady ways. Without the unlimited power of the seeds, people began to build with care. They planted forests instead of machines and learned once again to respect balance instead of control. The trade union no longer ruled as before. Smaller colonies rose with equal strength, forming alliances based on trust rather than greed. On North, Lyra had become a symbol of wisdom. Many came to her for guidance, but she always spoke little. She was not the proud woman of her youth anymore. Her silver skin had dulled with age, and her eyes carried both peace and memory. She no longer built machines to prove her worth. Instead, she taught younger minds about humility and the meaning of true creation. Yet, even as she taught others, one question remained in her heart. Had Aaron truly vanished into the stars, or did some part of him still live? She felt his presence often in quiet moments when the wind was soft or when a machine hummed in perfect harmony. Sometimes her lab lights flickered once gently, as if greeting her. One evening, while she worked alone, the light seed in her lab pulsed brighter than usual. It had been still for years, glowing faintly like a memory. Now it shone like a living thing. Her console beeped, showing an incoming signal, faint, fragmented, but human in origin. Lyra leaned closer. The message was short. Stability continues. Come to the source. Her hands trembled. The signal came from the same coordinates as before, the planet where Aaron had merged with the energy. For a long moment she stood still, thinking. She was old now. Her bones were weaker, her body slower. But something inside her told her that this was the last journey she must take. She sent word to the Galactic Exploration Fleet, questing a single small ship. The officers agreed at once, for none could deny her name or her connection to the legend of the Light Seeds. Within days, her ship lifted from North's surface and vanished into the dark. The journey took many weeks. Lyra spent the time reading Aaron's old notes stored in her console. His handwriting was neat and calm, every word carefully placed. His thoughts spoke of patience, of creation guided by purpose. Each line reminded her of how he had lived, silent yet powerful. When she finally reached the system, she felt a strange calm. The planet still shone with that soft silver glow, its rivers of light winding like veins of life. But something was different now. The energy fields were stronger, clearer. The world seemed awake. Her ship landed near the Crystal Valley, the same place where she had last spoken to Aaron's voice. As she stepped out, the ground beneath her feet felt warm, like a living heart. She walked slowly toward the central tower, which now reached high into the sky like a pillar of light. When she touched its surface, her console came alive on its own. A familiar voice spoke, gentle and steady. "Welcome back, Lyra." Her breath caught. "Aaron," she whispered. "It has been a long time," the voice said. "You kept your promise." "I tried," she replied. "The seeds were misused, but we brought them back to balance. The galaxy learned your lesson." "That was your lesson too," he said. "You carried truth when others carried pride." Lyra smiled faintly. "You always speak like a teacher. You always listen when it matters," Aaron answered. She sat down on the smooth ground beside the glowing tower. "Why call me now?" she asked. "The galaxy is calm again. Your work lives on." "There is one last thing," Aaron said. "The system is stable now. The core no longer needs my consciousness to guide it. The planet has learned to breathe on its own. It is time for me to rest." Lyra felt her heart tighten. "You mean to end it?" "I mean to return it," he said. "Every system must release what it holds when its purpose is done. My mind is part of the core, but soon it will fade. I wanted to speak with you once more before that happens." Tears filled her eyes. "You became the heart of this world, Aaron. You gave your life for peace. You cannot just disappear again." He was quiet for a moment. "Everything that begins must also end, Lyra. That is what keeps balance alive. But my end is not loss. It is return. I will not be gone, only changed." Lyra looked around at the glowing valley. "You changed everything, Aaron, even me. I once thought power was in control, but now I know power is in patience." Aaron's voice softened. "That is why I waited for you. To tell you that your journey is not over yet. There will come a new age, and it will need guides like you, those who remember the lessons of silence." She nodded slowly. "Then I will teach them. I will tell them about you." "You already have," he said gently. "Every seed carries your name beside mine. The galaxy remembers the woman who turned arrogance into wisdom." For a long while, neither spoke. Only the wind moved through the glowing trees. Lyra felt peace, but also sadness. She had spent her life searching for meaning. Now she understood that it had always been right here, in the space between silence and creation. Then Aaron spoke again, his tone calm but distant. "The energy will soon shift. When it does, I will fade into the flow. But I will leave behind a spark. You will find it near the old dome ruins, where this began." Lyra stood slowly. "Then I will go there. Go with peace," he said. The voice faded, and the tower's light dimmed slightly, like a deep breath being released. Lyra walked across the valley, her steps steady, though her heart was heavy. She reached the ruins of the old dome, now covered in crystal and flowers that glowed softly in the night. At the center lay a small structure made of metal and glass. Inside it floated a single orb of light, pulsing gently. When she touched it, warmth filled her hand. Her console flickered, showing a single message: "Thank you for listening." She smiled through her tears. "Always," she whispered. The orb glowed brighter for a moment, then sank into the ground, merging with the planet's core. A wave of gentle light spread through the valley, and every crystal around her shone like stars. It was as if the world itself bowed in farewell. Lyra stood there for hours, watching the lights dance across the sky. The silence felt full, not empty. She felt him in every heartbeat of the planet, in every hum of the wind. Aaron was gone, yet everywhere. When she finally returned to her ship, she looked back one last time. The valley shimmered softly, peaceful and alive. She whispered to the sky, "Rest well, my friend. You kept your promise too?" As her ship lifted off, the planet below seemed to glow brighter, like a candle that would never burn out. Back on North, Lyra spent her remaining years teaching the next generation of builders and explorers. She told them stories not about war or conquest, but about patience, silence, and the power of creation guided by kindness. She spoke of a human who had once been offended, but had chosen silence instead of anger, and had turned that silence into a light that healed the galaxy. Her students listened in awe, often asking if the story was real. Lyra would smile and say, "You must decide that yourself. Truth lives in the heart, not in proof." As the years went by, her health faded. One morning, she did not come to her lecture hall. Her assistants found her sitting beside the old light seed in her lab, peaceful and still, a faint smile on her face. The seed beside her glowed softly, as if aware that its keeper had gone. When the news spread, people from many worlds came to honor her. They built a small monument in the Valley of North, shaped like a shining dome with her name and one sentence carved below. She listened to silence and found creation. But that was not the end. On a distant world, in the valley where Aaron's planet glowed, a faint spark of light rose from the soil and floated into the sky. It drifted higher and higher, joining the stars. For a moment, the stars seemed to pulse together, as if sharing one heartbeat. The galaxy continued to live and grow, balanced and alive. People still told the story of the silent maker and the soulless engineer who had carried his truth. They called it the Tale of the Light Seeds, a story passed through generations as a lesson that offense can break worlds, but forgiveness can heal them. And somewhere among the stars, in the endless silence of space, two lights move side by side, one human and one soulless, shining quietly forever. Decades passed since Lyra had returned from the glowing planet. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. The light seeds, once a tool of immense power, had become a symbol of balance and harmony. Worlds that had been barren or broken were now thriving with forests, rivers, and cities built with respect for nature and life. Lyra's name lived on long after she had left North. Her teachings spread across colonies. Young builders and engineers learned not only the mechanics of machines, but also the philosophy of creation. They learned that power was not meant for control or profit. It was a tool for healing, for restoration, and for giving life where there had been only silence. Yet in the quiet corners of the galaxy, some still remembered the human who had vanished 28 years ago. They whispered his name, Aaron, the silent maker. Children grew up hearing stories of a human whose calm and patience had changed the stars. Scholars debated if he had really existed, but those who had seen the light seeds knew the truth. He had been real, and he had been extraordinary, on a small colony near the edge of the galaxy. A young engineer named Rena found an old data crystal in the ruins of an abandoned research station. The crystal was faint, but when she touched it, a soft glow activated. Patterns appeared in the air above it, forming lines and shapes that pulsed gently. The design was familiar. Rena's eyes widened. She recognized it from the stories her grandmother had told, the core patterns of the light seeds. Created by the human Aaron, she studied the crystal carefully. Hidden within it were instructions for building new seeds, designed to harmonize energy with planets and ecosystems. Rena thought of the tales of Lyra and Aaron, and she felt a responsibility that weighed heavier than any machine she had ever built. She knew that whoever followed this path would not only create energy, but guide life itself. Meanwhile, on North, the council had placed monuments to both Lyra and Aaron. One was a crystal dome representing the light seeds, glowing softly in the night. People visited from across the galaxy to pay respects, to study the designs, and to learn the lessons of patience, balance, and creation. Even as new generations learned, questions remained. Had Aaron truly vanished into the stars, or was he still alive in some form? Some claimed that on certain nights, when the stars shimmered brighter than usual, they could feel his presence. Engineers would report faint signals in space, untraceable but consistent, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. One day, Lyra's last assistant, a young Solith named Kella, came to her with news. "Ma'am, I have found traces of the light seed energy on a distant world. It is strong, unlike anything we have measured before." Lyra studied the readings. The energy patterns were similar to the original light seeds, but more refined, more alive. "Then someone has continued his work," she said. Or perhaps the work continued itself. The two of them decided to travel to the world. The journey was long, and as they approached the planet, the ship's sensors went wild. The surface of the planet glowed faintly. It's covered in structures that resembled crystal towers like those Aaron had built decades ago. The air shimmered with energy, and the land itself seemed to breathe. When they landed, they found a landscape more magnificent than they had imagined. Rivers of light flowed like water, forests pulsed with energy, and small creatures moved through the air like living sparks. Lyra knelt and touched the ground. It was warm and alive, responding to her presence. "It is harmonious," she whispered. "Everything here is connected." Then a voice spoke, calm and steady, familiar yet distant. "Welcome, Lyra." Her eyes widened. "Aaron?" she asked softly. "I am part of this world now," he replied. "Not as before. The core of my mind is merged with the planet. Every seed you have seen, every energy balance in the galaxy, is an extension of me. I am everywhere the system thrives." Lyra stood in awe. "You have continued your work all these years?" "Yes," he said. "But it was not only my doing. The light seeds respond to life that is willing to care. Those who listen can guide them. That is why you and Rena are here. You carry the lessons forward." Lyra looked around at the living planet. "And all the new worlds we have helped? They are connected to you too?" "Everywhere balance exists, I am there," Aaron replied. "Not as a master, but as a guide. Life teaches itself when it is given tools to grow." Rena, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. "Then we must continue. We must build new seeds for planets that need them." "Then do so with care," Aaron said. "Do not seek control. Only nurture. Only balance. Power taken for selfish reasons will always fail." Lyra smiled. "We understand." For months, they studied the world and learned from its patterns. The energy flowed like rivers through the land, guided by natural rules that seemed simple, but were infinitely complex. They recorded every detail, creating new light seeds designed to be safer, more balanced, and easier to implement. When they returned to North, they began a new era of teaching. Engineers from across the galaxy arrived to learn. Every student who mastered the light seeds learned not only the technology, but also the philosophy behind them. That creation was more than mechanics. It was respect, patience, and harmony. As they taught, reports came from distant worlds. A barren planet had sprouted forests, a city struck by storms was restored, and an entire colony that had lost its crops now flourished. People began to understand that the seeds were more than machines. They were symbols of life, a promise that balance could be restored even in the darkest places. Lyra grew older, but she never stopped working. Even in her final years, she visited the light seeds in laboratories, teaching students about Aaron, the human who had chosen silence, and about the importance of purpose over pride. One evening, she sat beside Rena in a quiet garden near her home. "Do you feel it?" Lyra asked. "The energy," Rena said. "Yes," Lyra said. "The presence of someone who created not for power, not for glory, but for balance. I feel him everywhere." Rena looked at her amazed. "Even after all these years?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, because true creation never dies. It continues through those who carry the lessons forward." That night, as the twin moons of North rose, a soft glow appeared in the sky, faint but steady. Some called it a comet. Others said it was a star. Those who knew the old stories whispered that it was Aaron, the silent maker watching over the galaxy he had helped heal. Years later, when Lyra passed quietly in her sleep, the light seed she had nurtured continued to grow and flourish. New engineers rose, guided by her teachings and the legacy of a human who had once been silent in the face of offense, and by a woman who had learned the power of listening. the galaxy remembered them both. Statues of Lyra and depictions of Aaron appeared in cities and schools. Their story was told over and over, inspiring generations. People learned that silence could be stronger than anger, patience stronger than pride, and creation stronger than destruction. And somewhere in the stars, where energy moved in unseen currents, the light of Aaron and the guidance of Lyra continued. Together, they were proof that a single act of calm and thoughtful choice could echo across decades. Touching every world and every life it encountered, the galaxy thrived, balanced and alive, carrying in its core the quiet strength of one human and one soulless engineer whose lessons of patience, silence, and creation would never be forgotten. The stars shone a little brighter that night, as if honoring them both, and the light seeds pulsed gently, carrying the heartbeat of the galaxy itself. And so, the tale ended not in silence, but in eternal light.